Well, thank you, board members. Thank you, Dr. Wright, for having me here today. I'm Heather Connelly. I'm based out of Austin, Texas, and I'm here to talk to you today about the crisis alert solution that our company has from our company, CENTEGIX. First, I want to start by looking at factual conclusions that come out of the UVALDE report. So these came out of our Texas State House of Representatives. It was the initial committee that did work on what happened in UVALDE to investigate it. And some areas that I'll point out, you can read it for yourself. It comes straight off of the report. But one of the areas I really want to focus on today is number 2, which is where in that incident, all teachers didn't receive an alert immediately. We had poor Wi-Fi issues. And as Ron mentioned, there was very little downloading of the app that they used, the Panic Alert app that they used. And so there was not a consistent message, there wasn't a consistent use of it for all teachers and staff to know that they were going into lockdown. So I just want to point that out to you with what the factual conclusions are to start. To give you some background on why we developed this product, our founder developed it after the Parkland shooting in Florida. A lot of the same issues happened in the Parkland shooting as did Uvalde. And these are the reasons, or these are the goals we created to make a product so that we would help reduce incident response time. It's really important once the alert or the event happens, you get to people that need the medical care. We wanted to make something super wearable and easy to use, something that we all wear on our lanyards, most of your teachers and staff probably do every day, that's just there and ready to grab. We wanted to not have an app for teachers and staff to have to download and put on their personal cell phones or have to be at a computer, in front of a laptop or a computer. We hope they're teaching and not holding their phones or behind their computers. We also wanted to make sure you didn't need Wi-Fi or cell service. We all know the buildings, our school buildings, you can't get Wi-Fi and cell service. We build them with brick, we build them with rocks, and it's very hard to get a lot of good cell service in those buildings. And the final piece is room level accuracy. It's important that we find the event, we get to the person that needs help quickly. So we want to get to that room level if they need help. Our alert badge actually has 2 types of alerts, and believe it or not, most of the use is not going to be for active shooter events or lockdown scenarios. It's going to be everyday use. So one type is a staff alert, where these could be things like medical emergencies. A student has a seizure in class and a teacher needs help. There's a fight in the hall and you need help with a principal, an AP, or somebody else to come and break it up. It could also be runners or kids that are eloping off campus and taking off. Those are every day, and our tool is actually used 98% of the time every day in schools across the U.S. The second type of alert is setting an actual lockdown into place. So you all got one of these badges. I don't know if you have it in front of you. If you want to pick it up and touch it. That little button, if you would push it 3 times with intention, go ahead and do that. This is what it will feel like on a 3-click or a staff alert. Did y'all get a vibration? Yeah. Okay, perfect. You're gonna get a vibration because we want the person, the teacher, the staff member to know they're asking for help. When it vibrates, they know it's going to somebody, okay? For a campus alert, we just say keep clicking. Why do we say that? If you're in an event or an emergency where you are really needing help and it's a lot of emotion, we don't want you to have to count. You will not remember how many clicks it takes to set a lockdown into motion, okay? So we don't tell anybody that, we don't want them to know it, but how they're gonna know that, I'm gonna show you in a minute what that looks like if they need to set a lockdown in the school. First of all though, let me just reiterate, 98% of the use is every day. These medical emergencies, school violence, elopement, or runners. We've got a lot of stories on this badge where we've saved lives just with everyday incidences. At the end of the last school year, we had a student choke on a rock on the playground, and we were able to hit the badge, that staff member outside, they were able to have a nurse come and help, they did the Heimlich, and they saved this little boy's life. Another student, senior in high school, passed out at the beginning of school after the Pledge of Allegiance. She literally died. They were able to revive her because the teacher pushed their badge and got the defibrillator off the wall in the hallway, and they saved her life. So we've got some really heartwarming stories you can always look at on our YouTube channel. And it's just these everyday events that happen in our schools that we're helping. So let me show you what happens when we do a staff alert with the 3 clicks. That's loud. So what is happening here is you do see an app now, okay? The teachers and staff don't get this. We have what we call crisis alert teams that you're gonna identify per campus. So you're gonna decide who those people are on that crisis team. Probably gonna be principals, APs, it's gonna be a nurse, it's gonna be an SRO, it could be your head secretary. It's whoever you choose at that location that you want to respond to any crisis. That's a staff alert crisis. What we give them is an app so that they can actually know where the person is that's asking for help, to the room level, floor level as well, and who it is that pushed their badge, okay? So it's an Amber Alert override that we have. It's permission that we have from the App Store to do it. They will not be able to ignore this alert. It'll come over their phone and or their desktop, wherever they're at with that device in front of them. So it's a matter of numbers, how many people you set up on those crisis teams per building to respond to those events, okay? Any questions on the staff alert? Okay. The next type is that campus-wide, and again, we ask you to keep clicking. The same thing will happen at 3, where those crisis team members at that campus are gonna get the same information, but this is also going to happen.
This is a lockdown alert. Immediately lock your doors. Turn off the lights. Stay out of sight. This is a lockdown alert. Immediately lock your doors. Turn off the lights. Stay out of sight.
So we have a lot of things going on here. We've got auditory, visual. Everybody in your building, including your students, are going to know you're in lockdown. So we integrate with your intercom. We have strobes that we put in your ceilings all over, and then we have this desktop screen takeover. So any of your network computers, those that are on your network, are gonna get a message. This is all completely customizable. You can tell us what you want it to say overhead, over the intercom. You can tell us what you want it to read, and you can tell us the color of the flashing. There's an option also for other alerts. I'm gonna show you that in here in just a minute. But we want to make sure in the lockdown situation that the students deserve the right to know you're in lockdown too. And even staff members that don't get that alert, paraeducators don't always have it, and those teachers that won't download the app are not going to get it. We need everybody to know you're in lockdown. And your kids know what to do in a lockdown situation. We're always running those lockdown drills. Unfortunately, they know how to do that now. So, in review, there's one more item, one more element we add to this. Once the staff badge is pushed, again, you have visual cues with the strobes, we have auditory cues over the intercom, and we have more visual displays on your mobile devices. The final piece is, and this is based on Alyssa's law out of Florida primarily, that we are notifying 911 for you. So we have an integration that we integrate with your local PSAP and 911 dispatch centers as well. That's law in Florida. You have to have that connection with your panic alert button. If a lockdown happens, the police have to be connected and called. So it's the same here. It's an option. Unless it becomes legislation in Arkansas, then you don't have to turn that on. You can have your own local police department. You can decide whoever you want. But your 911 dispatch centers will also get the information that your crisis teams on campuses are getting too. They can have access to our software. They can see the location to the room level, okay? There's another element to this. Administrators only do have the ability to set other types of alerts. So if you've got a nearby incident, you've got a 7-Eleven being robbed across the street from the high school, typically you're gonna put your school into a lockout, or what we call sometimes secure. You don't want people going in and out of the building until the situation's taken care of. You have a weather emergency, a tornado warning coming through, you need everybody to get to shelter. You can push that button as an administrator, and that will set a different type of alert. Only administrators have access to this. And it can be done remotely. If you're across the state at a conference and you get word of a weather emergency and the superintendent would like to set that emergency, they can do it from wherever you're at. These are also customizable. You can name them anything you want, and they're gonna be also color-coded, and the same thing will happen with the display. the strobes, and that intercom message. You decide and customize what you want the message to look and feel like. So then students will know we're in a lockout situation, it'll flash yellow, they'll have directions, the intercom will go off, and they know what to do. Okay? So to just quickly review, 2 types of alerts, both the staff alert and the campus-wide. This does include all the hardware and software. What we basically have is what we call a mesh network we've developed. The most important part of this is we don't require Wi-Fi and cell service because we are on our own Internet of Things mesh network. You do not have to have it to push that badge and for it to work. We also have no hard wiring. Our strobes are put up into your ceilings with magnets. Our other hubs and things that connect to the badge in order to find your location and set the alerts off are all done by plugging into outlets, and then also have all of these have backup batteries. These badges last you 5 years on a battery, and the strobes are about the same, 3 to 5. We manage all of your hardware and software through the life of the contract. So we install and update everything as well. Data collection is also super important. So this is going to provide you information about what is going on in your schools. So in order to end an alert, somebody has to turn it off or end it, an administrator. And when doing that, you have to basically give the reason for the alert. It'll also identify the time, the date, the location, who pushed the badge, and then whoever closes the alert is going to say what the reason was. And I want to note again here, this is an actual time frame of a month from one of our districts, some sample data. If you see that, campus threats are very, very low. Lockdowns used very, very little. Compared to behavior, which rose incredibly from COVID, we did a lot of research on that, 250% from fall of 2020 to 21, and our schools using CrisisAlert was that increase in behavior incidents. You've all recognized that, you've had that, we know that. But this provides you with trends as well. Trends like, are we having trouble in this hallway in this high school at lunch? Do we need to put more presence of an SRO, or do we need to shut the hallway down? Or is there a student that's really having some issues and maybe needs a different placement? So lots of really good data that you get out of our system that you are collecting and using on your end. So I just want to point out differentiators one more time. 1 button activation. You do not have to fumble with a phone. You don't have to rely on your teachers and staff to download it to their phones at all. You just give them this badge, they put it on their lanyard. It's actually nice because you can discreetly push the button for help. Sometimes you don't want to escalate a situation with students. I was a former high school teacher, and there were many times that I would have to pick up the phone and call the principal, and it just escalated it even worse. The kids just got angry or more upset with me, and then it just got to be too big. This is discreet when you need help. Total campus coverage. So I want to point out we cover outside areas as well, which is not common for other apps. So we have solar panels. We just had such a long discussion on solar panels. I'm sorry about that. But we have solar panel pieces of equipment so that we can cover football fields, playgrounds, parking lots. A lot of things happen in parking lots. And then, again, the audio and visual information to communicate. I think kids deserve the chance to also know what's going on in a really, really deep emergency. They need to know. And location. A lot of your apps can't find you. They know you're in a certain building, but they can't find you to the room. And we know in these shootings, especially in Parkland, we know that kids bled out that needed medical help, and they didn't know where to go. They didn't know what rooms to go to. So we have the ability to really get to the locations quickly and get that medical help into the kids when they need it most.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you for the background information, too. Board members, questions for our presenter, and we'll continue to follow our pattern of 2 questions and give somebody else a turn if we have questions.
I have a question. You mentioned the alert going out to the devices. Is that employee devices, student devices? Can we set it up to dictate
It's only going to be to your crisis alert team adults. So you pick per campus who that crisis team is going to be. And then typically, especially for lockdowns, your district level people are going to want to know that's happening. But those are not going to go to the students. The way the students know you're in lockdown is that intercom message, the strobes, and the visual directions. They wouldn't know when there's a staff alert, right? Because that's just, it's kind of contained, you want to contain it, you just want them addressing that issue at hand and not sometimes wanting students to know what's going on, right?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, no, I
Okay.
was just thinking people, when they're transitioning from class to class, they're in the hallway.
Yes.
Coming back from a specialist, whatever, they wouldn't be in front of their computer.
So they'll know from everything else in the building as well. Yeah. Now, I'm going to answer a question you may ask before you ask it because I didn't add this. Your adults that need to travel from building to building, like your occupational therapists or psychologists or, people who just go superintendent if you're traveling, they follow them to that building. It works as soon as you walk into the building. When you walk out of the building across the street, this doesn't work. So this doesn't follow anybody at home. I can't hit this right now, it's not gonna do anything. As soon as your teachers are off campus and they're at home, nothing. But they follow you per campus. So if you walk from one building to the next and you hit it, it'll set it off for that campus's structure and their crisis team. That make sense?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Other questions?
Question about training.
Yes.
So will all those identified staff persons be trained
Yes.
on everything, on what to do?
Absolutely. So we do administrative training for those who are going to manage it from the district level, that are going to put all the software in and issue the badges and all that. Then we do responder training. So that's for those crisis alert teams on each campus, so they know what to do with it when they get an alert. And then we do staff level training. And this is not just for teachers, this is for custodians, this is for your cafeteria workers. We saved a custodian's life with this. He had a heart attack, a student saw him nearby, hit the button, we saved his life. So all your staff gets it, and we will make sure they know how to do this. We have a training mode set up, and we test every single badge as we issue them per campus. We make sure every one of them works, it's hitting the crisis alert team, and they move on. And then we have a tracking software system that allows you to see if these badges are in good health. So sometimes the battery can die, and so we check on that all the time. Same with your hardware. We know if your hardware's going down, we have software that tells us you have a strobe out in room 202, we're gonna send you an email and say something's wrong with a strobe. Okay?
Thank you. Ms. Hatter, and then I think Ms. Nolan may have a question.
Okay. I have a few questions, but I will combine some of them and get back in the queue. One of them is more so for the district. Like, I know we went through the tips and so we don't have to do the competitive bid, and that's the only reason we have tips. So why did we decide to go through tips and not open this up for a competitive bid, given how large this contract is, to allow other companies to bid on this?
Sure. The easy answer to that is they're the only ones that exist for the wearable technology. The apps, there's a lot of apps out there for your phone, and at one point in time, I think I had about a half a dozen on my phones to trying them out. But we can't find another wearable technology out there.
Okay, and the other thing is we have LRPD in our schools, which they do a lot of training, and they are highly certified, and they do things like this. So have an assessment of our building with the LRPD been done about this, and so they know that this is something that the district is considering?
So with the upper command staff, yes, we've had that conversation.
Okay, because I did have a conversation with upper, and it was around assessments and this, and so like there was some fogginess. So I was just curious if there was conversations.
Right. So the situations like this that connect to the 911 as well as the RAID panic system go through the emergency management division of LRPD. So that's who we have those discussions with.
Oh, okay. I'll get back on the queue.
Ms. Nolan, did you have a question or two?
I do. I have two. and I guess they're both for Dr. Wright, and then I have one for Mr. Bailey. One is, have you talked to school level employees and gotten a feel for what they want in terms of some sort of alert system like this? I mean, the reason I'm asking, I've heard from some teachers who absolutely do want measures that will help them be safer, depending on what, they talked about behavior issues and things like that. Those are things that teachers have had to deal with and would like an ability to get some help quickly. The flip side is I've heard from some teachers that are concerned that all of these measures that we are taking kind of contribute to a culture of fear in the school, and that they're a little worried about the impact on students. And so I just wondered what you all are hearing from the school level about what teachers and staff want.
So, excuse me, our reason for pursuing or even investigating this as an option is really based off of the recommendations that came out of the first safety committee from the governor assembled, and I believe a panic system was also recommended in the latest recommendation. So we haven't necessarily taken a pulse from our staff to see what it is that they want or need or desire. We've just been responding to the recommendations that came out of the safety commission.
Okay.
While
And then
not, yeah, I want to add to that too. So while not official, so everywhere, several schools that we've gone to train, they have talked about some type of what are we doing for a panic type system, because they read those commission reports as well. So we do get a lot of questions. Is that it's not everything been official sent out.
The question for Mr. Bailey.
I think that was the first
about,
question.
That was my first one. This is my second one. Can I do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Take your second question, Ms. Nolan.
The second question is about pay. I know that I believe it said ESSER funds, but what's the plan for when those are no longer an option?
When they're no longer an option, I think we have to look at if this is going to be a priority and safety is a priority for the district, we have to look at other funding. If anybody know me with a contract, I'm going to pretty much make sure we get the best price possible. So even though it's on tips, taps, we always drive to get even better pricing, especially being Little Rock. Little Rock is going to be Little Rock is a flagship, I think, of districts in the state. So people look to us for leadership in many cases. So, but right now, ESSER will cover the cost of it. But technology may change in the next 5 years. We may be looking at something different. But
I was just going to add that this is a 5-year contract, so the costs will cover us for 5 years, and who knows what the technology will be, because things change so much. So it may be something else we're looking at after 5 years.
And one of the things I want to mention as well, so this goes to all the employees, because I have a lot of support areas, whether it's safety and security, child nutrition, or maintenance, or whoever it might be out there. A lot of times they didn't actually have access to in that time when we had apps, didn't have access to smartphones and things like that. So we don't have to worry about somebody not having a phone available and things like that, and they can feel a part of that safety culture of the school, because it is a culture. It's not going to just be safety and security or a few people there. So it gives everybody the autonomy, especially with as many kids we have. And Dr. Wright saw it because he rode on a special need bus, the severely disabled or special needs children we have, along with all the special diets we have as well. So if a kid gets some peanut or something that he's allergic to, that teacher can immediately, press that button for help to come there.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan. Board members, someone else? Ms. Johnson?
How you doing? Great presentation. I don't think we can ever be too safe. And I think a multiple layer of safety measures is okay with me. But take me back to when you said that janitor had a heart attack.
Yes.
And the kid pushed the button. Did the whole team respond, or just the whole team does respond?
Yes, that's correct. The whole team does. And we honestly used to have 4 buttons. But guess what happened? People pushed the wrong button for the wrong emergency. So we believe that every emergency, you've got to have a crisis team that's going to respond no matter what. And that's why at the time, there was a nurse nearby or somebody nearby that had medical background, that they knew what to do in those situations. So not all times can the principal respond if they're out of the building. So that layering too, the numbers are important, that you have enough people that will be able to respond and can react the way that they need to and get the help they need.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Wilson?
I was going to say, I actually have a comment while we're talking about this. I think it's good for us as policymakers to think about the people that our schools are going to identify as crisis responders and having them CPR certified so that they are prepared to address that.
Thank you. Ms. Callaway, did you have a question?
I know, I really want to make a statement.
Okay.
I think this is great. You know, having been in those types of situations and having been a designated person, that when those shootings happened down in Texas, now I'm like, I was watching television, like, why, where do they not have a communication system? Now, you were telling us that it was an app on their phone.
Correct.
And they couldn't get to their phone, right?
Correct.
This is so much better than having it on my personal phone, because my phone might be dead. You know, and you know what I mean. And really, I've been in situations where Uncle Gus came in the house and we had paper to put over the and lock the doors, and of course our doors were locked all the time. But anyway.
Yeah.
But people don't understand unless you've been there, what that's like and how scary it is. And I really am impressed.
Yeah,
I've got to tell you that.
Thank you.
Okay.
that's great.
Thank you, Ms. Callaway. Just board members, just a comment, you know, this is before us to take action on, so if, I think the question for me is, do we have other questions that you need to have answered before you can take action?
Do you think I could get it in a watch form? No.
We'll work on that.
I do have one question. It's about assessments. I mean, because oftentimes we have things like this brought to us and there's no audit of our buildings or our security measures. And two, working and utilizing certified law enforcement. And mine is more of a statement, is it will be nice, right, if we start having audits of needs assessments to show the risk within our building, because there's a disconnection between us and what LRPD knows and feels. And so that's just what I wanted to say, is that we need to start doing more assessment audits before we bring things before us.
Thank you, Ms. Hatter.
I'm not sure if this is something LRPD can implement. I'm thinking that we've already done somewhat of an audit. We already know what we have in place, and we also know what we need. And so there again, it doesn't matter to me if we have 7 types of safety. It doesn't really matter, because you can never be too safe. So I can support this, but I need to watch for them.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll work on that
Okay,
right away.
thank you.